Hello, I'm Johan De Bruin. I'm a former software engineer, originally from Riot Games. I worked there for 6 years, but in July I decided to quit and go full-time indie development. I started with my brother, that he does art and I do development, and we released in October our first small game, Grammar's Wars. We are trying to focus on developing educational video games. I will add a link in the description. Now I'm going to start what I hope a new video series about development of our next game. Cytopolis is going to be a strategy game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea in this video and the overall architecture on how we use Unity with PlayFab to create a strategy online game based on biology. I hope you enjoy, and also please like and subscribe so YouTube recognize this video as a valid video and does not delete it using the new terms of use, because it's going to delete anything irrelevant. Thank you. See ya. Alright, so first I would like to talk a little bit about the idea. So this is Cytopolis. It's a microbiology online strategy game. The main problem is the fact that learning games these days are pretty boring, really linear, and not challenging at all, and they can't really compete with real games out there. The solution is going to be a strategy online game where each player actually manages a cell. So for example, I might choose to become a good cell, like a red blood cell that provides resources and help other players to grow up. I might choose to be kind of like a police cell, a white blood cell, and these cells, they will level up enzymes that will attack other players that they choose to be like cancerous because there's still too much resources, or they just decide to develop a virus and infect other players. I'm also thinking about the idea of having some players becoming kind of like a bacteria. These are neutral players, that they are not evil or good. This represents kind of like an agency that the players have to choose to become whatever they want. This is some of the mock UI target. So for example, here I'm showing the fact that the player may choose the different organelles and place them. This is one step towards the specialization I'm talking about. In here, you can even further personalize each organelle by equipping different enzymes. So in this case, this player is equipping an mRNA glucose transporter into a ribosome, so he can produce micromolecules. By the way, this game is kind of like an idle type game, similar to Clash of Clans or Rise of Kingdoms. Here, it's kind of like a tech tree. I borrowed this idea from Civilization. Each player might choose to level up or progress through different trees, giving that gating the different parameters of specialization for each player. Also, I'm planning to allow the players to harm enough their organism, so the whole organism will be wiped out and all players loses their cells, but they will keep their research trees. So this is kind of like a way of progressing through the game. Lastly, in this screen, I'm demonstrating how you can interact with the world. In this case, you might be trading with other players that glucose that you generate before, and you might be using some of the enzymes to attack other players. I grabbed this idea from Rise of Kingdoms. This is the equivalent of an army. Here is some information about the world, how many infected players, eukaryotes and prokaryotes are around there, some statistics about pH or blood pressure, and we can even have like global events like, hey, there is influenza season, and you know, some bonus will happen for the viruses, for example. So for the tech stack, I'm gonna leverage my 6 years of software engineering experience at Riot Games to be able to craft this game in a way that can scale. And for the actual software I'm gonna be using, it's going to be Unity Game Engine for the front end, PlayFab for the back end, and currently our target is going to be 2D. My brother and I, that's everything we know. We can't do like any technical art, 3D modeling or anything like that, so we're going to use 2D with sprites animations. And yeah, this is the team. We already created the Grammar's Wars, and hopefully we can find a game designer and project manager, and also a game developer and technical artist. Especially this will allow us to add that 3D. So if you are interested in joining us, shoot me an email and we can talk about it. All right, so now I'm gonna show you. So yeah, I'm a little bit ashamed to say that we've been 7 weeks already building a prototype. Uh, this was kind of like the first version. My target was this in 4 weeks, where basically you could click on the organelles to gather the resources, and then you might specialize the organelle. After a while, I realized that this is just a clicker game. The only real agency the player has is selecting the organelles. So I decided to spend a little bit more time developing what I have currently, and it's what I'm going to show you. So all right, so I'm gonna click play. This is 7 weeks of progress so far. And the first screen that you will see, well, the first screen you will see is the logging in, the authentication, but it goes so quickly that it currently transitions to the next screen, which is character selection. Here you can see the different characters that this player has, and I can actually show you side by side what we have in the server versus what we have in the game. So if I click on this is Game Manager from PlayFab, and you can see on this player's characters that indeed it has one cell, and this is the UUID of the same character. Now I'm gonna click on it, and I'll see that I have a cell that is completely empty, some ATP, which is my currency, and the different organelles I might purchase. Initially, I think the player will have 0 ATP. It has 5,000 for the purposes of this demo. So the first thing you want to do is to purchase a mitochondria. Once you purchase it, this mitochondria will reveal, and you can click it and select it and place it anywhere you want. There is a bug here, but basically you should be able to buy another mitochondria. Anyhow, once you select and place mitochondrias, I'm expecting in the final version to have something similar to Civilization, where you can get like bonuses output based on where you place it and which organelles are next to this one. For this prototype, we only have this little functionality of being able to place it. The way I did it is once you purchase it, you will be granted a character inventory, which you can actually see on here on PlayFab. In this case, you can see that he already owned the mitochondria that I purchased, and once you place it, you will grab and add some custom fields. In this case, you can see that I'm actually defining a post X and post Y, meaning that it's been placed in the tile map. Also, I want to show you this, is in PlayFab, I'm defining the content. So all this information about the prices and the organelles and even what kind of enzymes an organelle can be created is defined in PlayFab service, which means I can change from the server. I can add new organelles very easily. It's just raw data. I just need to add one of these fields. Like here, I'm defining the 4 organelles I have. And that way, I can add more content and I can change the game design really quickly. I made it dynamic that way because there's going to be a new iteration, probably in 2 weeks, where I'm going to add a bunch more of organelles and enzymes to make this game truly engaging. Anyhow, let me continue with the demo. All right, so in this case, once you place an organelle, you might click on the organelle, and you can then equip enzymes. Each organelle requires to create certain enzymes through this panel. Normally, there will be like a cost here, but because the mitochondria, the first enzyme is free, there is no cost associated. So I'm gonna click create, and hopefully it will show the different things. All right, so yeah, I have to fix the bug where we are not refreshing the modal UI, but in this case, you can see that we have created a new enzyme, and we have the next enzyme available. And you can corroborate that in PlayFab. If you go here, you can see that now we also have not only the mitochondria, but also an ATP synthase. And if you click on the organelle, you can see that we have created one enzyme. And you can see in the organelle's content title that indeed this enzyme generator for mitochondria, the first one, it's free. Resource cost is 0, and it does give me an ATP synthase. But the next one, if you want, I want another ATP synthase, I'm gonna need to use an amino acid and glucose, which I don't have, so I'm not gonna be able to craft this guy. Now, once you equip the enzyme, the player will start creating a generator. In this case here, and a generator, it does have a start time and a pace, and it generates certain resource, in this case ATP. So this is the way where the player will be able to generate more ATP. So I'm gonna click on here, and hopefully the ATP will increase. I don't think I have the UI refreshing hookup. I'm gonna work on that this week probably, but I should be able to see this player having 5 more ATP through Game Manager, which I don't. All right, so that's a bug. Anyhow, so yeah, in theory, you click on here and you can claim the ATP, and it's not working, but I'm gonna show with another organelle. So I'm gonna buy a membrane receptor. In this case, I use 100 ATP. I'm gonna place it in the cell, and I'm going to create another enzyme. The first one is free as well. And now I can see that I get like a peroxidion, which generates oxygen. I'm going to equip it, and in 10 seconds I should be able to see like an oxygen thingy. And so you can see here that yes, I have the oxygen generator, and now I have the bubble. I'm gonna click the bubble, and hopefully this time it will work. Yeah, indeed. This time I did grab oxygen. So I still need to fix the bug where I cannot generate ATP, but you can see that the oxygen, it did work indeed. And you know, I can buy another receptor, and I can try to generate another enzyme. By the way, this membrane receptor, it can give you 1 of 4 different items: oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, and phosphor, which are the resources you need to be able to generate an amino acid. And the idea is that the player will only be able to create 1 membrane receptor at the beginning, unless he does farm a lot of ATP by clicking a lot, forcing the player to trade others those missing elements. So he can create an amino acid, and then he can create a glucose with a ribosome, and then he can level up the mitochondria using the glucose and amino acid. So it's kind of like a crafting system in a way. And yeah, that's the game. So for the code, I did structure most of my code based on a GitHub example, the unicorn battle playfab. You should check it out in GitHub if you are interested on how to build a playfab, a game using playfab. It is great. Yeah, you should definitely use this as a template. And that's pretty much how I structure my code, where PF, statics, and helpers is probably the most relevant part, where I have, like, for example, this class, this static class, where I can call the playfab cloud functions to execute certain actions in the server. And then I used cloud functions and a little framework that I created to be able to create those cloud functions. So you could just write in playfab cloud functions to do like server authoritative logic. But there is a problem with that, and the problem is the fact that, and I'm going to show you, is the fact that playfab asks you to build the whole thing in a long ass file, and you cannot really divide the logic into different modules or even unit test them. So I created this little bootstrap project where I can use TypeScript to define the different services and classes that are relevant, so I can modularize the logic and then add it all together through a controller. So this is the controller that defines the different cloud functions, and the controller will call the services. If you want to know more, I actually did open source it. You can find it in GitHub, has playfab cloud TypeScript bootstrap. I will add all this stuff in the description, so check it out and let me know what you think. All right, this is my queue. I'm gonna leave you guys now. I hope you enjoy this video, and yeah, let me know, and hope I will follow up in 1 or 2 weeks. See ya. Thank you.